right. Hey, everybody, and thank you for joining us on the very final episode of Evermore Tales, the Samurai and the Dragon. Before we begin, I wanted to say thank you to our sponsors. The first one being Session Zero Clothing. If you are looking for gaming clothing or anything that goes with D&D, he's got a couple of great designs, so check them out. The other one I want to say thank you to is Mithril Armory Games as the makers of the Tin D20s. So I know a couple of our players, Pepperina Sparkle Gem being one, that loves that dice because I see that dice all the time. Let's see. The other one is Norse Foundry Games. I know there's a couple of us that may own their dice. I know I do from the last Kickstarter they did. So, and then there it is. So I know some of those are showing up this session. And then the last sponsor I wanted to say thank you to is Got DM. Now, if you want to check this out, we've got a couple of new products on our website. It's an easy thing. It's roamingplayergear.com. So if you want to check that out, the link is in my bio as well. Before we pass this over to our players to do our quick introductions, as well as the players that or the characters that they have so graciously brought to life, I personally wanted to take at least a couple of minutes to say very much thank you to everybody. This has been a childhood dream of mine to see the characters that we've essentially put together and live this world. More thankfully, I wanted to share the whole concept of what Evermore was. Evermore for me has always been a way to keep my players and friends together. And so, COVID had come through, and this was one of those situations where I thought to myself, what's better way to keep my friends together than a moment where they need it the most? So thank you for taking the time to bringing these characters to life, and really thank you for being you. And I'm extremely thankful to call each and every one of you friends. I look forward to seeing you all at the table, and as I've expressed, you always have a seat at mine. So why don't we go ahead and begin? Joey, who are you playing today? Or Jess, who are you playing today?
Today I'm playing Yi Lam. She is my namesake, my Chinese name, representation of my Cantonese and Chinese culture, very dear to my heart. She is young, naive, just as another character you'll be meeting soon. She's trying to step up for her family. Her blood related or not, they're still family, the House of Lam. And she is trying to grow some balls and just step up, basically. That's what she's trying to do. And she's just trying to help save Qorvi, her home, and all her friends' home and everything. Yeah, she's strong and she tries to be strong.
And just like when we first started this, we would see you and we would see your family being represented here. So I am thankful for that. Let's go to London. Who are you playing today?
Hi, I am Mujun. I am playing London. He is a level 2 bard. And I'm just kidding. Hi, London. I am playing Mujun, who is a Way of the Astral Self monk. He is a half orc. And I've had a lot of fun playing here in Qorvi and Evermore. And I'm just very thankful for this opportunity and very excited to sort of bring this arc to a close today. So yeah, thanks for having me. And I'm excited to play him.
Yes, I am excited to see what the final mark you put onto this world. I know many of our players are looking to see the integration of the planets as well as the stars. It's a huge part in our world of Evermore, so thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish we could complete the as the levels go up with this subclass. He gets more than just the arms, which is cool. Yeah. But I love this so far.
you will definitely get that opportunity, my friend. So let's go with Yuki.
Hi guys, I'm Brianna, but many of you guys know me as Utahime, cosplayer, streamer, TTRPG performer. You can find me at Utahime Cosplay on Facebook, Instagram, here on Twitch, where I occasionally stream a variety of different games, and Brianna DeCosta on Twitter. And it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to be at this table. I know how much this world means to so many people who are watching, and especially to you, Ray. And it was just amazing that you guys wanted me to be a part of such a beautiful story, a beautiful land. And it's been so awesome. It's going to be really sad for me to say goodbye, but hopefully it's not that long of a goodbye and I get a chance to hopefully maybe play with you guys off camera. But
Oh.
I have been playing Yuki, who is a high elf sorceress who yeah, she hasn't really revealed how old she actually is, but she is very well traveled. She feels like it's her duty to uphold the teachings of the Unamusha, her family's legacy, and especially within the land of Qorvi that has become so dear to her heart. And she is doing everything within her power to protect it because it's now become a part of her,
Oh, I just got goosebumps when you
literal
said
ways.
that.
Yeah, and it's been awesome, an awesome journey. So thank you guys so much.
Oh my gosh, I am excited to see what we are about to do today. Toshiro or Keith, who are you playing today?
Everybody, Keith. You can find me on IG at I am not Kevin Bacon. You can find me on here at Aloy808, and Twitter is something like all that D&D or something. I'm not on there very often, other than when I plug this show. But anyway, I'm playing Toshiro Miyazaki from House Miyazaki. I play basically the student of Yuki. If anybody's gonna make Toshiro cower, it would be Yuki. I'd like to thank everybody who was involved in this project, including DC, who was our first tech producer, our amazing cast, Ray, love you, my buddy, partner on this. It's been a lot of fun. TIO for hosting us. Thank you so much. Yeah, no idea how this show is going to go. So yeah, looking forward to it. Ray-san, ikuzo.
Thank you. And before we run the credits, today's episode is dedicated to my daughter. Thanks, Liliana. Let's play those credits. The first thing I wanted to let everybody know is you can see this smoke coming off of the valley, smoke coming from the flames of Qorvi, some of the buildings that have been previously burned. You can look and notice at all of the chaos. You can see the body of the great general, the body of the great bear, the warriors that tried to defend themselves against Yuki or tried to attack Yuki and Toshiro. Mujun at the steps where this large creature had been completely decimated, and the axe as well as the gore that's on our good friend from outside of Qorvi. All of this happening around you, and at the same point, Joyi, you turn to your left, and you can see over the bay the sun rising, as it is always done in Qorvi. As the sun rises, you can see the sun kind of going against your scimitars. You can see it illuminate the insignia of House Lamb. And you recognize as you look over the valley and over the fishing village, this is your home. This is what it stands for. As you can see, the villagers begin to walk up to you. All of you are surrounded by those that love you. All of you are surrounded by the warriors that you represent. Where we will begin today's adventure, you are all, I have Mujun, Joyi, I have also a lot of our good friends, Toshiro and Yuki, in the middle near House Miyazaki. You originally had seen this female that was in plate mail kind of come out near the door. She leans over and she looks, and she turns and she goes back into the home. Joyi, at the same point, you can hear what sounds like a bunch of rumbling. From behind you, running up the stairs that goes to Miyazaki, are what look like a group of about 10 teenagers. In front of them, there is a female with a shaved head. On one side, there's hair that goes over. On the other side, there's another one that has what literally looks like a fishing pot over his head as some kind of helmet. And he has what looks like a big stick that he may have picked up from the ground. This literally looks like a bunch of teenagers that have run from the streets trying to do something against this. But you see them move your direction. What would you like to do?
Do I recognize them as part of any house or just teenagers?
Majority of them look like they're farmers' kids. They look like they may live amongst the rice paddies because you can tell by just some of their garb. You see them stop, and even then they would be speaking the same Cantonese to each other. But you can see as they look at you and they kind of put their weapons up. Where's the fight? Where is he?
And I kind of yell, stop, put your weapons down and hold. As if I'm talking to soldiers, just not, but treating them as if they are adults.
And they put the weapons, looks like they put a lot of their improvised weapons down, and some of them are clenching their fists in anger, but they seem to stop, just as one of House Lamb has said.
And I say, there is no more fight to be done. We have claimed what victory we can. If you want to help tidy up, help clean up this town, our home. Make sure every fire is put out, every mouth is fed, and people have water. Make sure we are up and running. That's how you can help.
And Joyi, at the strength of that being said, Mujin, you're recognizing from the appearance of this is a very much a different Joyi than one that stands in front of you. More importantly, you can still see the House Lamb on fire in the background, but it looks like some of the villagers are starting to at least pour water onto things, smolder the flames. You can tell that they're going down there and trying to render aid. What would you like to do, Mujin? As you're at the top of this stairs, you have the carcass of this essentially dead Oni that's been laying there on the staircase.
As I have this carcass that's right there next to me, Mujin, he bows his head, says a small prayer for this fallen enemy. But with those astral arms still extended, he would like to go in and assist and help, sort of quench these flames here in any way that he can. And he's trying to find the people that seem like they need the most help, areas that seem the most, sort of burned and he's still actively burning here, and would like to go and aid them there.
Mujin, as you walk down to the village area, the thing I would show you is that you would see a number of fishermen also doing this as well. They're throwing water on some of the buildings, but the parts that I would give you is you can see what looks like a fisherman do it. He grabs a pail and throws the water, but as you walk closer, you can tell his corporal form begins to fade. And it seems to be what looks like an illumination of light in his chest that goes brighter every time you take a step forward.
Have I seen this before?
That he looks like a spirit, only you can see the outline of him, but the closer you walk, you can tell the arms and the legs begin to fade as you can hear, what's happening? What's happening? Help the build. And which just seems to be an illumination of light just float in front of you. lost. What would you like to do?
I would like to sort of approach this and with my astral arms, sort of, if I can, sort of like grab the shoulders of this form that's floating away with like a sort of comforting, firm grasp.
And it just looks at you as it takes a couple of breaths. You can see the look in its eyes as the light in its chest goes brighter, but as that goes brighter, its skin begins to fade. This is what looks like one of the fishermen that may have been killed during the initial intrusion of this Oni. But you can tell the fear in his eyes. He has no idea that he's stuck between the land of in-between.
Mujun sort of tries to see if he can see me. Does he?
And Mujin, as you do that, you can recognize you're seeing more ghosts in the water, more ghosts and spirits in the bay, as they all look at you and realize that you are now, it goes from one ghost to 3 to 4, but they dare not step into the land. They stay at the edge of the water.
Mujin walks towards the water, standing right at the edge, and just taking this all in. And he begins to pray.
In the words of your prayers, more of the lights begin to form. As you can see, they stay all surface level to the water. You can hear you hear us? You hear, Mom, is this where we go home? Quiet. Shh, quiet, he's gonna say something. And more of these spirits begin to talk, Mujin, as you realize they are waiting for you to say their goodbyes. And they float right on the surface. The one that you were talking to looks to you and he stays within form. And he says, there's so many homes. There's so many people that need to be fed. There's so much work to be done. I can't leave now. I'm not ready.
There is a time for everything. If there's anything I've learned, is that everything will be all right. Our stories will continue long after us. You've done your part, and you've done it well. These people, this community, I know it may seem like it now. I know it may seem scary. I know you may feel small, but you are powerful. And this work will continue. This work will prosper. This work will thrive. And we'll make sure that this place will continue to live. It's okay. It's not goodbye. This is all connected. Again, if I've learned anything, it's that we're all connected. You're not alone.
As you say this, you can hear the footsteps behind you. As you see what looks like the smaller, he holds a torch, but he looks exactly like Boy. And he walks up to you, and you see him just put the torch onto the ground. And he says, I dare not step forward one more step to see my father leave this world. But please may I allow him to say my goodbyes.
Please take the time you need.
And you would see Boy walk up to the water. He takes what looks like the recorder out. And at the same point, you would see almost a female presence walk towards him as well. And it sits right next to him. And the father you had placed your arms around, he looks to you and says, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Goodbyes are not always goodbyes. But you're welcome.
You'd see the female grab the recorder and a small song is played. As you can see, that final spirit is let go and begins to float towards the sky. As in all generations, Mujun, there has always been monks of Qorvi to say goodbye to those that have left this world. And at the same point, as you sit there with the flames around you, they start to smolder. You would also notice the lights from the rivers begin to float. The lights from the forest begin to float. And the final words of boy says to his father, "We will continue. We will keep each other in its not grace. And we will keep to the stars." And you would see all the people look up as they say their goodbyes. You would see some of the workers begin to come out, take shovels, start to move more of the dirt to cover the fires. But Mujun, before we go to Yuki and Toshiro, you would also see what looks like the monks begin to walk towards you. Okay, we're back. Excellent. All right, so from there, what we'll go with it is Mujin, you have these monks walking to the side of you. Before we go off to the other actions, though, is there anything you'd like to say to the monks? These monks are ones from the villages above you. They have come originally to assist in the ceremonies that have had as far as to say their farewells to the dead around. But noticing that you have released one, they begin to walk toward you. Is there anything you'd like to say to them?
We have much work to be done here. And I could really appreciate your assistance here. But please know that the work extends well beyond these goodbyes. If I can have your assistance even after that, I'm sure that we can make sure that this place has hope and can go on.
Let's go to Zhouyi. As you say this, Mujin, to the monks that are there, Zhouyi at the top of the stairs, you notice Mujin is making the steps to go down to the village. You have House Lamb that's currently smoldering as it is. You have House Miyazaki above you as well. What would you like to do?
I turn to. I'm assuming teenagers ran off already, right?
The most of them, after you told them to put their arms down, they've walked towards the stairs, mostly because they've seen this monk move, and you know how important their religion is to them. So they turn around, they make this way towards Mujin.
Okay. I turn to Yuki and Toshiro and I say, I'm gonna have to go and sort out my home and see what's happening in House Lamb. Try and put out the fires and do damage control if I can. See how many people we have left, survivors, if it's okay with you guys. I have no idea what to do with the Oni. You might have to handle that, Yuki. You have more knowledge. But I need to go. I really do. I'm sorry.
Do what you must, child.
And then I'm like working on some of my wounds and stuff, and I look over at Joyi. Domo. None of this could have been saved without you. You have performed so valiantly. I think even Yuki-san would agree. You have grown into the fighter you have always wanted to be. And I bow. Go check on your house. Hopefully it's a lot better than it looks right now. I hope you find your loved ones.
I give Toshiro a bow back and towards Yuki too.
And Yuki nods her head. Mind you, she's still holding, almost like covering, using her kimono to kind of cover the wound. She doesn't indicate that the wound is still there. But after she nods, she looks Juyi in her eyes. I've never been prouder than in this moment. As Toshiro said, you've grown so much as a woman, as a warrior. I know that you are destined to do great things for this land.
Thank you for both of you for your kind words. I will not take them lightly. I'll take them to my heart and carry it towards my strength. And I kind of point towards the Chinese character that said strength on her tattoo. I shall look down to her tattoo, the other one with the character that says forest, which is what her family name means. And a tear will drop, but she'll aggressively wipe it off, turn around, but then quickly turn around to the others and say, do you know who that person is? The blonde, the one running around. I don't think we have many blondes here.
Would I know who that was, Ray?
She was one that was brought here by Lamb but while you were gone, so no.
I do not.
I don't
Okay.
recognize her.
But you must go and take care of your house. They need you.
I will. I'll go at once. And I turn around to walk away briskly. But I'm going to keep an eye out for the stranger, the outsider that we don't know. Because right now it's a very volatile scenario.
And given everything you run towards, as you know, House Lamb is very close to House Miyazaki in its proximity, but both in a physical and a literal sense. Ones that have seen each other both grow in power, as well as influence in this valley. Joyi, you run to your home, and the first thing that you would recognize is that the temperament is very different. A lot of the home has been broken. In fact, you can see what looks like a towel, or not a towel, sorry, death shrouds that have been placed over family members that have not passed this event. But more importantly, you can see those of the people outside staring at what it seems to be a blanket that covers the matriarch of House Lamb. You take the first steps into the open courtyard. Over this, that you can see what looks like the death shrouds, and behind where the demon was found, at least looking to at least kill a number of those people that were hiding in House Lamb, had rushed through and broken that broken parts of the entrance is right behind them. And that's where you can see our person in plate mail, but she's not in plate mail. You can see that she's wearing what looks like traditional Qorvi garb. You have the death shrouds and you have her. What would you like to do?
How many people are currently in the house alive?
As you can take a quick glance, a house that typically sees about 50 family members move around, you can only count at least only 15.
I kind of walk towards my dead mother. Is the patriarch around? No.
No.
Do I see any sign of him?
No.
Okay. Then I walk over to my mother and I will just fall onto my knees and kind of put my hands together and pray for her. I bow 3 times to her as of tradition and just sigh I just get up and I turn around to face the survivors. Are they in general, like, I want to know the like adults, kids,
Majority, they're a mix of children and adults. The thing you would also recognize is they're all staring at you is that without the great the old bear there, majority of the soldiers they're standing haphazardly. If you can tell, there's not a lot of, I would say, military order amongst them. Some of them are watching, some of them are trying to pay attention to those that are injured, some are putting out the fires, but you have a gaggle of the house members, a gaggle of some of the villagers, as well as the soldiers, all looking at you.
Mm-hmm. And I look at them and I wipe the tears away and kind of gesture for them to all come closer.
And they all begin to walk as the 15 family members of House Lamb begin to take the first steps.
And I kind of just extend my arms, as not our family doesn't normally do, not very affectionate, I'd say. But I'm just going to have my open arms and just say, I think we all need a hug.
And you would see them all just one by one put their arms around you. And you would hear some of them look to you. And the brevity of the situation, as you know, Zhou, or the seriousness of the situation is the fact that the house matriarch that stands is no longer. You are the only child of that matriarch.
And I'm going to kind of release this hug gently. And I'm going to kind of scan the group and see what I can delegate onto different types of people. For the stronger ones of the group, like physically stronger, I am going to get them to move the bodies.
Okay.
I give that order out, yeah. Those who I know can cook of sorts, to start cooking with whatever we have left, to make sure we all have a meal, to strengthen ourselves. The kids, I am going to get them to kind of tidy up clutter if they can, like just little bits and pieces here and there, not anything dangerous, not any shards or nothing that will cause them harm, just like objects that have been knocked over or things like that, kind of make it a game, who can pick up the most things or something, just something for them to do. Yeah. And all the fires have been put out now, have they?
That's correct. Most of them are being put out. That's correct.
Okay, so after the fires are done, we're going to continue doing that. I don't think we're going to be able to rebuild today, but it's a start.
And as you're doing this, you would hear innocently words being spoken in common. It's break because here in the House Lamb, majority of the family members speak Canto to each other very, very explicitly. Mm-hmm. And you would hear what sounds like words being spoken in common, and then the equivalent version of it spoken by a child. Mm-hmm. And it comes all but 30 feet from you. If you turn your head, you would recognize the person that has the blonde hair. Mm-hmm. Seems to be speaking words, and a child looks to her and says in Qorvi that she's saying it wrong, and she gives her the Canto version of that word, and they go back and forth, and you can see the innocence of the two. It's almost as if this person she's speaking to, the one with the blonde hair, looks to be between the ages of 20 to 25 in human relevant years, but you can tell by her ears and the way her blonde hair sets, that is another high elf that's sitting there, or an elf of some sort.
Okay, I am going to walk up towards her. And do I know the kid by name?
The kid's name is Kai.
Kai. And I kind of get down to his level, like kind of crouch down and say, Kai, you're gonna lose this race for the competition with the other kids. You know this. Come on, get along.
He gets up, and you would see him run off, and it's almost as if he's running off. He like hops on one foot, grabs what looks like a stone, and puts it into his shirt, and tries to make it look like he's got more things by like shoving dirt in his pocket. And you see him just like run off, and you would see this person sitting there just kind of laughing, and she just kind of goes back to just looking around and does like look a little bit of a glance to you, but just kind of stares downwards again.
I turn towards her directly, and I kind of reach my hand out and just say, I'm Zhou. What's your name?
And she doesn't say a thing. In fact, when she looks at you, the first thing that she does is she looks to the ground and she avoids any direct eye contact.
Okay.
And she looks to you and says, I came here. I was told I could stay here. I don't want to get involved and I don't want to be anybody's burden.
If you don't want to be a burden, then you can help us, at least help us rebuild. As you can see, our home has been decimated recently, today.
And you'd
And
see her stand up and she would take the first steps and she would grimace almost as if she has this immeasurable migraine at the side of her head. And she just kind of goes, I'm sorry. When she takes the first steps and sits back down.
Mhm.
In the coming days, I can probably help as much as I can. I'm no use to anybody right now.
I am going to put my healing hand on her, like as it's just comfort out of comfort. So I'm going to put my hand on her. And I am going to do that. Yes, I am going to kind of try and heal her, but like of a comforting form.
Give me a roll and let me see what your hit points are that you give to her.
No, it's just 5 hit points.
Oh, 5 hit points.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What does it look like? Are you placing your hands on her face? Like, what does it look like?
I kind of put my fingers to her temples because I can see she looks like a kind of like a migraine or a headache of sorts. So I kind of put my 2 fingers into her temples and I just kind of gently rub them. This might be very strange to me on a for the first time, but oh well. Right. So I'm gonna do that and I say, okay, I need you to tell me a lot more so I can help you. Anything you can tell me, that is fine. I am not asking for everything.
And it
I'm just
almost just feels like as it's interrupted, as you kind of your hands begin to get warm, as it almost feels like you can see a glimpse into what's in her head, or at least a glimpse of what kind of has put her into this place. But the visions that it shows you are hundreds of white dragons. It shows you these castles that are made of ivory and of mother of pearl. You see these people that don't touch the ground when they move. It almost seems as if a world beyond Qorvi, but almost as that part stops, it almost looks like shattered glass begins as this immense pain goes from her to you. And you can even feel it as this kind of cranking headache. And she looks to you and she grabs your head and you can see her say a couple of things and she starts to repeat herself and she just stops, looks at you, and you can just see her just go back to that somber look to her face.
What language is she speaking in? Like her comfortable language?
It's a language that you don't even understand because it's not Qorvashi. It's a word that can only be spoken, but it sounds very foreign. The words almost have an Arabic sense to it, but what also it looks to it is that she's repeating to herself is that her voice drops to about 3 octaves. And as she repeats it, it almost feels like this cold energy comes out of the top of your head back into her hands. And she places it on her forehead and she goes, stay here, stay here, stay here. And she just kind of keeps talking to herself and you hear her just saying these words as if they're just simple prayers.
So we are similar age. Oh, possibly. Correct. Okay. So I'm going to grab her hand and I'm going to take her where I know that either my bedroom is, I guess. Hopefully it's intact. But I'm going to take her to there and kind of lay her down on my bed. I give her my bed as like kind of like a guest, like a host would do to a guest.
Okay. And you would take her and kind of go upstairs and recognize that the bedroom that you have, the window that you have oversees the rivers that come through. And you would see as it does, the rivers that go through, it actually has a glimpse of the bay beyond it. As you're sitting there and she's laying there in your bed and she looks to you and she looks towards the window and she says, it's a beautiful view. I would love to see. This is the place I need to be. And she looks at some of the trees and some of the things that you have in around your room that very much mimic the bamboo forests that are around. I'd like to stay here if it's possible.
Who gave you the initial invite for the stay?
And she holds up her hand and she opens it. And you can see what looks like an insignia of House Miyazaki. And she holds it in front of you and she says, I found this in a tavern. I don't know what it means, but I followed it as far as it could take me. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'll end up. But rest assured, I don't want to go where I came from.
Are you in hiding?
It's better for me not to tell you.
Well, I need to know to protect my own people. This is my home. These are my people.
There's a lot of faith that I would ask of you. It's for not only your safety, but mine as well. I could
Okay.
stay far away from here. I won't
And
be a bother.
as she's saying this, her Joey's mother's words will go through her head, and always taught her to be open to people and comforting and take care of everyone and not to turn people away when they're in need. So she kind of sighs at herself and sighs at what her mother would say in this situation. And return to the stranger and say, look, I'm happy to give you safe haven. Just please don't cause any trouble. We've had enough trouble. And all I do is just ask for your help, just like any other local I would ask. If when you can, when you feel able to. And I'll show you around someday when when there's time. 100% show you around the amazing views that is Qorvi.
And we'll go to Yuki and Toshiro as the final parts of the showyes. You can hear behind you, it sounds like the house, for lack of a better term, she is the assistant of the matriarch. Her last name is Z, but she comes to you and you can hear, I don't mean to interrupt, but she can stay at the rivers. We've got huts there. They're vacation homes, but I'm sure she won't be bothered.
Did I get along with my mother's advisor?
For the most part, you did.
I trust her.
You do.
Okay. I turn to the stranger and I say, how do you feel about that? You can stay here if you'd like, or you can stay somewhere more remote, I guess.
I don't want to be a
Quieter.
burden. I don't want to be. And if I feel like I'm away from your home, it doesn't seem like I would put you into any trouble.
I turn to the advisor and I say, is it safe? How safe is it? How the vacation homes that we have?
Most of the homes, I was assumed that they're still in pieces. But I assume also we have some of them near the rivers. Those weren't touched. I'm sure the Falls of Celestia were not harmed. She would find a home there, and we could keep her there.
And I turn to the stranger and I say, the Falls of Celestia are very, very important to us as Qorvashi people. It helps protect our land and look over us. It gives us hope. And I think that is a more than peaceful place for you to be if you'd like.
Joey, she looks to you and places her hands onto yours. She tells you, my name is Alexandria Valkyr, but my friends call me Lexi.
I say, that's a beautiful name. It is. But if you're in hiding, you better stay with Lexi.
She
And I
smiles.
wink.
She smiles. That's probably the best piece of advice she's ever going to be given in the next couple of years. As she goes, and you see this look on her face as she tries to forget her original name. And she says, Lexi. Let's go to Yuki and Toshiro. Yuki, you have in the standing side of all of this open area, you have Joyi that just walked away, Toshiro that stands right with you. You have a number of House Miyazaki that start to become out of the buildings, but they look more of the civilians. What would you all like to do?
Yuki has been holding at her wound. It's almost like where it's not as noticeable, especially because of the deep color of her kimono, almost as if it was meant to hide the blood that actually was draining from her body. And she looks away over at the Oni and briefly at Toshiro, and she kind of laughs at herself and she says, kind of in a whisper, but it's enough where Toshiro could probably hear. Forever is one. I never truly understood the meaning of that phrase until now. How ironic. You knew it was inevitable. In that moment, she's also too thinking about if I can. Does she know? I know she knows about the Oni and its origin.
Oh, yeah.
Would she know how to properly get rid of its essence, pretty much, so in order to basically rid it of
Yes.
the land?
And the blade that you have used, when it is designed to rid those that claim presence out of this world by categorized as demons or devils, it shines blue and it traps their spirits into the blades itself. So whenever you're ready, all you have to do is plunge that weapon you have into this creature's body.
Well, technically, it had disappeared.
Yes.
So, great DM. What does that mean? And now that it has turned into this scale that she is holding within herself.
Yes. The only feeling that you have is that the Oni's presence is not there. But you also have this feeling that the dragon that protects Qorvi is also not there. For once, Yuki, you are here, and you are the only defender of this world, or this land itself. What it would manifest with you is that you feel this thing's spirit stuck. It tries to fight its way, it tries to whisper to you, it tries to tell you so many things. But it's easy enough for you to understand that what this thing is evil. What would you like to do?
Yuki, in that moment, she clenches tighter to herself and she utters the Yashi to try to do healing, as in to close the wound, almost as trying to fuse and become one with the scale that is within her.
And you would see it as it begins to heal. You would feel, though, that this energy is rather different. The many times that you have healed yourself, you had felt the positivity of the dragon, the golden dragon's blessing. The one of your father's, the one of your mother's, the one that made you feel that internal peace. But the magic that you're using right now is purely your own. You can feel that and you know that. It heals, it begins to close. And that's the part you'd look at the bay, you would look at the mountains around you and the forests. You would recognize that this is it. The dragon that stands where it once stood for Qorvi is no longer here. And as firm placed as you are and as firm footed you are, there's no delineation. You know your presence here matters. actions for the group. Yuki.
So that ritual that Yuki did, I'm gonna assume that's the first time I've ever seen that.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of limping along, and I follow up beside Yuki. That ritual you did, Sensei. What did I exactly do?
Yuki takes a look around. Is there anyone within close proximity to where they are
No,
currently?
no.
She turns to Toshiro. What I'm going to tell you here, you must not tell anyone else. This is knowledge only I deem that you are worthy to hear.
Right?
The legend, you've heard of the gold dragon. You know of the gold dragon. Yes?
Right?
I am a descendant of that dragon. He goes by many names, or he has gone by many names, but I knew him as Hinata Kamiyama, my father. What you witnessed was me attempting something that I'm not quite sure if it worked, will work. He left me a gift, and it was my blade. The writing on that blade said forever is one. I didn't truly understand what that meant. He was always a protector of this land and its people. He had a love for this land that I don't even believe my mother truly understood. It wasn't until today that I understood how deeply he loved Qorvi. I it was made out of his scale. He's no longer with us. So I wanted to make sure that he would always be a part of me. We had kept everything a secret, my lineage and his power. Made sure that it was all but a legend, out of fear of what people seeking for that power, what they would do, and the way that they would probably destroy this land as a result. So we did our best, and I was always drawn back here, even despite all of my travels. It's probably because Qorvi is always a part of me.
I have
I
always.
realize,
Go ahead, finish.
I realize that even more now. I'm meant to look out for this land, for all of you, especially for you as a student, making sure that the teachings, they carry on and pass down to generation.
All my time growing up, I've heard that legend. And you know the tattoos I carry. I did not know that this myth that was shared between all of us was real. And that was your father. I am sorry for your loss, Yuki-san.
It's okay, as I said. I believe that even he knew it was inevitable. We have always promised to not interfere too much because it disrupts balance. But it's hard when the people of this land are almost like your own flesh and blood.
And I smile because of the relationship that Yuki has with the house. That even though Yuki is not blood, she is family in House Miyazaki. So she would recognize that smile of what she just said. Your wound is okay? And it's more of a leaning towards this wound more than the physical wound.
She laughs a little bit to herself. With time, they heal. And I should know. I should know better than anyone.
Yuki, what I would show you is that as you say this to Toshiro, it's a simple glance, but you can see what looks like the matriarch of House Miyazaki exiting the building. She looks directly at you and Toshiro, and there's just this pause. As you can see, she just runs up to him as fast as possible. You can see she begins to approach Toshiro from behind. You can hear the mud that she walks into. She's not caring about the royalties, the ceremonies that go along with her clothes. The mud cakes onto some of the stuff that she's wearing. Toshiro, you can hear her scream. You can hear her screaming your name the minute she gets in within range of you. What would you like to do?
So as she's coming up, I look over and I start bowing in reverence because that's the house matriarch and that's my okasan. So yeah, I look and I bow and I look. Everything's okay.
And she doesn't even wait till like the first bow is completed. She just grabs you and just places her hands around you. And you can see as there most of the people that are around, you can hear some of the, but they it's a gasp mostly of like they wouldn't have think that this she's covered in mud. She's got mud on some of the kimono that she would normally wear that's I would say very expensive. But you can see her Yuki as she's holding on to her, you can hear her whisper, "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." She says it over and over and over again.
Yuki would place a hand on her shoulder. No thanks is necessary. I should be the one thanking you. And she squeezes the shoulder because that was her way of indicating that in allowing her to be a part of House Miyazaki in that way and her being able to be a mentor to Toshiro, she's done more than she could even fathom that she could have possibly have done for Yuki. And in doing so, Yuki does kind of wince a little bit. She gathers herself to stand upright. She walks slowly over to where the Oni is lying there near the stairs. Is there any indication of one of the like a blade or like any type of blue, like specifically possibly the blue blade
That's correct.
within the house that she would know of that she could take in that moment?
The only blue blade was given to Toshiro.
That's what I
So
thought.
yeah,
I wanted to
I'm looking
verify.
at yeah, I'm looking at Yukia. What are you looking for?
I'm in need of your blade.
I pull out Hirano no Asai and I take it out and I hold it out to her.
And she nods and she takes it. And in that moment, she walks forward and she's looking carefully for the third eye of this Oni, where she knows that it would be located.
You would see its mouth as you walk forward. It almost materializes right on its forehead. The blade that you have, the minute you grasp this Odashi, if you grab it, you can actually see your hands as the gold emanates from your fingertips, interweaves with this blade. And you can actually see the spirits or ghosts that are stuck within the blue parts integrate with gold, as if this dragon is just weaving between the ghosts. It goes to the tip of the blade, and you can hear this thing just going as it like makes it resonates just by being exposed. What would you like to do?
In that moment, she takes a second and she strikes hard and strikes true at the third eye, stabbing directly there.
You would see the blade plunge into the head. You would hear the roar of the dragon itself as you can feel what sounds like some of your hair get moved by the wind. The only difference of this is you know that this isn't just a simple wind, but you can hear the words of your father. As the blade holds, the eye begins to disappear, but you have this thing hilted into its head, or it's stuck in its head. Anything else?
In that moment, she removes it after having struck at its third eye to ensure that this Oni would be no more. And she takes the blade and wipes it across her katana, or her kimono. And then she hands it back over to Toshiro in a swift motion. It almost looks like it was just one swift motion, just almost art like dancing. And she hands it back over to Toshiro.
Toshiro, the blade that you have, the minute you get hold of it, you can feel as if this dragon's energy is into the blade itself. You can feel the integration of the spirits and souls. Yuki, the weapon that you hold him or you give to him, as if it is invigorated by the dragon that seems to protect Qorvi. The actions for the both of you. What would you both like to do?
So I look at Yuki. It's done now. Do we need to burn it?
Yuki looks over, because I mean it's already basically over, but she basically, when he says that, to put him at ease, she basically throws a firebolt in the direction, almost without looking. So then that way he knows it. That's her sign of it's done. Like,
And
without her having to say anything, it's just kind of like casually.
You would see it burn. At the same time, Toshiro, what I would give to you is, if you would look, you can see what looks like a spirit begin to lift from the villages below as it pierces the sky. As if similar to the lantern ceremony, but only one spirit does this. Toshiro, you also know at the very bottoms of there, some of the smoldering areas, as well as House Miyazaki's very famous mochi ball stand is located down there. What would you like to do, Toshiro?
So I look at what's going on in the area, and are any of the Miyazaki people out and about?
They are, and you would see some of them as now that the matriarch is right next to you. You would see majority of the family members starting to come out. They would kind of gather around you as well.
So I look at my mother. Okasan, ne? We were lucky. And then I raise my arm and show the tattoo that I've always had. The spirit of the gold dragon. He was with us and he's helped save us. Now it's time to help the others. And I look at the other people around from House Miyazaki. Let us go into the village and see who needs help. We are okay here. Let's see what we can do for the village.
And Yuki looks around. Many lives were lost today. Our loved ones, our friends, the soldiers who fought bravely for us every single day. Let's make sure that also their bodies are laid properly to rest. Their souls cannot stay here aimlessly.
So, Toshiro, Yuki, do you head towards the village?
After saying that to the house members, yeah.
And you turn and walk, and you would see a number of monks next to Mujun. Joyi, what I would also give to you before we go to you leading this individual towards the river houses, you would be able to walk and see as from the window, you can see Mujin as well. Mujin, there are a number of the monks around you. You can see the spirits of the ghosts that are standing at the riverfronts or standing at the waterfront. They dare not touch the lands. You have the physical form of boy and the physical form of the person next to him. What would you like to do?
Could you refresh me on sort of the actual protocol of this releasing ceremony?
And as you would do this, most of the monks come up to you and they tell you they must say their levels of goodbye. Those that those that want to say their piece. The lanterns will be lit. Every one of them will have a chance to say their farewells before their spirits are let go into the great beyond.
So Mujin, he goes and he prepares this. He sees them waiting at that threshold, and he gestures, sort of, one by one, for those goodbyes to commence, with these lights being, lit simultaneously at that, being assisted by the rest of the monks around with nods in their direction. He stands a little taller as this happens, as there's this confidence in this ceremony as each goodbye goes by. He senses more comfort within himself and would like to bestow that upon these spirits as well.
And Yuki and Toshiro, as you walk down, it's inevitable as you see the first paper lantern being released. You walk, it's a short walk though, as you see Mujin and the rest of the monks begin to light the lanterns. They would begin to grab the lanterns and light them and release. Joyi, you can see this from your window. You would see Lexi look to you and say, "What are they doing? What's that?"
That is the releasing of the spirits, the souls of those who have passed. That is the ceremony that we do here in Qorvi by the monks.
What you'd also see from there is Mujin, as you begin to see most of them light the lanterns around you. Yuki, Toshiro, as it is with the ceremony, you would notice this is happening. If you want the opportunity to say goodbyes to anybody specifically, the chance is now. Yuki, is there anybody you'd like to say goodbye to?
Well, she's going to, even though it's not one of the people present, she's, if it's each individual lighting it, like for someone, hers would be for her father. And she takes a second and she's like whispering to the lantern. I will never forget what you taught me. All of your words, your guidance throughout the years, and your love. I may not have always understood why you couldn't leave this land behind to come with me and Mother. But now I know. I'll honor you by staying with them. I always thought that my destiny was to go back to Alzora. Little did I know it was meant for me to be here.
Yuki,
There's
as
work
you
to be done. There's work to be done. And she sheds tears in that moment.
And the minute you open your eyes, because Mujun is one that is showing this, Mujun, I ask, as a monk, you have the ability to give corporal form to the spirits that are they're saying their goodbyes, but only to say their goodbyes. It is up to you to decide to allow it or not. You allow it, yes or no.
I allow it.
And Yuki, as you open up your eyes, what's in front of you is not a dragon. What's in front of you is a very, very old elf. He looks to you, and there's a level of, as he looks, it's both. He is so proud of the woman that stands in front of him. The confidence in the blade that stands there and knows how far you have come from your lands of Alzara to here. He would hold you in his arms and look to you and tell you, this is our home now. These people are our people. You'd see this person look to you, and as they hold you and they put their hands around your head and places your head against his chest as he says his final goodbyes. The death doesn't spare it for anybody. If there's anything you want to say goodbye to, now is the time. Yuki, what would you like to do?
Goodbye.
You would
I
see
love you.
this thing. As you say the words, I love you. This older man looks to you and places his hands on yours and his forehead on yours. And you can see as if you've lived millions of lives, but really it matters of the one. As you take a deep breath, you can hear the sounds of the trees, you can hear the laughter of the people, the sounds of the rivers. You can hear House Miyazaki, the smells of the mochi balls, the smells of the rice fields during harvest. As you open up your eyes and are surrounded by those that love you, you would see this older gentleman begin to float away into the sky. You were left with the final parts that I would give you as the sign of the golden dragon. Our people protect these lands, not because of things that we want, not because of the things that we need. But that Qorvi is the last home. This, the people that toil the lands here, the people that live day in and day out, they're you. They are a part of you. Don't you ever forget that.
I understand. I finally understand.
The dragon disappears as you can see the celestial angels fly, guiding this ancient spirit to where it needs to go home. And with that being said, Toshiro, is there anybody you'd like to say goodbye to?
So how much of what Yuki saw did I see? Or did I only see her kind of reacting to something?
As is all of these things are very personal, but you have been to the Festival of Fates and have seen the ghosts that are given their final goodbyes. So yes, you can see this older gentleman, and yes, he does look like one that is, I mean, very classic, I would say, very older appearance. He's got a very slender look to him, gray hair. I would say a Fu Manchu that goes downwards, but for the most part, his clothes, white, pearl. There are things there that show like his hair, very well kept. This individual, though aged, has made every opportunity to make sure that they maintain their appearances.
So hearing the words that Yuki is saying, I kind of figure out who this visage is. So I will kneel next to her and just be solemn and quiet and let her say the words she needs to say and honor the person that I know who that was.
And at the same time, Mujun, the final words from you before everybody releases their lanterns. What would you like to say?
Goodbyes aren't forever. And the stories and actions and love created in life don't go away. That's what he says.
And all of the lanterns are released. Ivan, as you're standing there, recognizing this whole thing, being at the center of the village and seeing, kind of coming to and seeing that where Mujin is all around him released, there are people that are releasing these lanterns into the air. As you have seen this in the very beginning part that you've come here, you see these visages of ghosts and spirits standing at the riverfronts, not wanting to touch or approach the land. You see the spirits that are floating away with these lights, legends and stories only told in bars and caverns and places that would, things of this would never even exist. And Ivan, you are seeing this as if you're standing there as a witness. What would you like to do?
Ivan's gonna watch the going on and just kind of keep an eye out on what the mass populace is doing, seeing that Mujin seems to be kind of heading this. If he can respectively get close to one of the group without disturbing this ceremony, is that possible?
That is possible. Mujin would be the one in front. You have Toshiro that's kind of kept to himself, but allowing Yuki to speak. And all of this is what Yuki's kind of looking, and that's where you can see is this older gentleman that, for the lack of a better term, looks very much like Pai Mei from Kill Bill. But I mean, from the appearances and the hair and the whiteness from it, he is the one floating away. And you can see this spiritual form doing it as well.
Gotcha. He'll actually just sit back, leaning against something, arms crossed, just looking at everything. And as they're floating, he watches, puts a little bit of the tufts into his pipe, strikes a match, and just blows some smoke into the air as a ring, as he just looks through the ring at all the floating lights. Crazy. Fucking crazy. as he's just looking around at everything.
Before we go on our break, Ivan, you do see what looks like 3 Qorvashi swordsmen. They walk to you carrying chests of gold.
Hmm.
You would see them begin to walk, and they place the chest of gold onto the ground. And they stand waiting to see if you acknowledge.
He kind of side eyes him and then points at one of them with the mouthpiece of his pipe and motions him over. Would you be able to get me in contact with anyone to maybe exchange this for either the ability to forge that soul metal that I've heard about, or maybe just to get myself a blade? One of the two.
And you can hear this being spoken as them to tell you. House Miyazaki is one of the only homes still able to forge these weapons.
All right. Well, it looks like I've got some talking to do. Thank you very much. Oh. Is there going to be a party or anything? Like
And
celebration of life?
as you can see them all looking at you, and it's that where the ceremony that's being currently performed, though the rites of it still kind of deter with Ivan, but you can hear Toshiro, Ivan speak about the blue blades, speak about wanting to get one as far as being forged. And they would all, the 3 swordsmen, look to you to see what the answer would be. Can we provide Ivan with the weapon?
So I look sidely at Yuki, and under my breath, I'm like, you don't buy the blades, you earn it.
You must understand the history, the meaning of the blade that you wield. That is, if we deem you worthy.
So what else do I have to fucking do? Hell, I'll turn down the gold. Gold isn't really what matters. I'm interested in that blade.
I look over at Ivan. You look at weapons as something of violence, to threaten, to kill. True. But that is not the essence of the blades of Qorvi. There is more to it. Each blade is created for that warrior. And it's like I said with Joyi, always be prepared for war, but be content with peace. I would rather not wield this blade. I would rather help my father in the fields, help Okasan in the mochi shop. Do you understand?
Being raised where I did, there's a saying of our own. Do not pull that blade unless you mean to use it. So very often, you learn to try and settle things with your mind, your mouth, your ears, or your heart. And then last but not least, your fist. And then your blade. So I like to believe I understand.
And I
You-
nod.
Nods back. But I do not want to take this lightly of you. As he bites back down on the mouthpiece. So if you need to do any more further trials, or questions, concerns, criticisms, complaints, or flirtations, I'm here for any and all of them.
Yuki steps forward, and after all of that whole spiel from Ivan, and she approaches, and she gets very, very close to, like, face to face with Ivan. One must also know the origin of the blade that they wield, its history. Because only within that understanding can you truly understand the power that it holds. So let me give you a little history lesson. A while ago, quite a long time ago, my mother, Mitsuki, and I, we helped during the Great War with the Drow of Yasai. We helped bring some of their people who were looking for safety down here to Qorvi. It was within the blending of the culture. That was when Qorvi became what it was meant to become. This melting pot of life, hope. So as Toshiro explained, you have to have that understanding of what it really means to our people. It is not a mere blade. It's much more than that. It's a connection that you will always have with this land. Are you willing to carry that? Truly carry a blade? Of its people.
He uncrosses his arms, pats off his thighs. And I'll also question GM, is this like immediately following the battle and everything like that?
That's correct. It's a lot of this has been resolving after the battle.
Perfect. He pats off his thighs, brushing the dirt off, kind of like shaking some of his armor as like a piece of skin falls out or something. Oh, fuck. Mistress Yuki, I'd like to believe I've got a stake in all this. And personally, he's going to look around at each of you. They're all a bunch of fucks. But you're my fucks. So I'd love to have a piece of you to remember. Also, to be able to know that when I'm pushing forward from this land, because I don't mean to stay, that I have a piece of this land as well as some companions to be fighting by my side.
And you want to carry this burden.
I feel like I don't have enough burdens. I need something to anchor me down. I need to have a home to come home to.
Upon hearing that, Yuki turns to the swordsman and totally faces away from Ivan, where she was close, telling him this information. She says, "Get this man a blade," and she walks away.
They turn at the same time as you walk, and it's as if the only thing this person is characterized to do is he runs off to go fetch one of the blades.
Miss Yuki. Or
Yes.
Mistress Yuki, sorry. I don't know about your people and their traditions, but after a showing of respect for those that have passed, do you have a party to follow, a celebration of their life? Or is it more hush hush?
Yuki takes a moment She looks around and she gestures. There's no celebration or party until the work here is done. And then she kind of puts her hands together, and where the two pieces of her kimono become one, and she again walks slowly away.
Looks like we got some work to do.
And with that, we will take our break. When we get back, we'll go from there. Thank you, everybody, for that little bit of a break. And let's get right back into it. Here we go. Joyi, as it stands, you are escorted with the housemate or the advisor, as well as a number of those that claim from House Lamb. You have some of the soldiers with you, and what this stranger seems to be also walking in front. She's got her gear. Majority of the advisors also carry some of her plate mail, but they stand in front of the Lamb vacation home, which is right on the river. If you could take a good look, right behind you, very similar to that symbol for those homes, is very much what they see. You would see Lexi look at you, and she looks and sees the river as well as the open bay, and all but maybe hundreds of feet from this location is the Falls of Celestia, the gigantic falls that most of the people from Qorvi see as a true symbol of protection. Is there anything you want to do?
I say to Lexi, is there any way you can disguise yourself? You're very distinct in this land. I think you stick out like a sore thumb.
But I'm also very small. And I don't think anybody's going to mind me being here if I keep to myself.
No, I'm just concerned for someone recognizing you. So, is there anything you can use? I don't know, any aesthetic, anything like makeup or magic or anything of the sort? I don't know you.
She
obviously.
smiles and sees that your energy that you're exhilarating right now, and she looks to you and takes a deep breath, places both of her hands on yours and says, I'm grateful for just being able to stay here. And I thank you, and I thank your people. I don't want to be a burden, and I don't want to cause any harm or danger to anybody here. But this is where I'll stay.
Always welcome in the village. Always welcome, especially to House Lamb. Please come visit when you feel like it, but you can trust that the Falls of Celestia are a true token and representation of the protection we stand for here in Qorvi. Maybe even try and climb it someday, as we all do.
And she looks at the waterfalls and she says, I think I'm going to need a little bit more rest before the days I've climbed that.
Oh, trust me, it's no easy feat. Not many people make it.
I don't
They've
even
tried.
think I could make that.
Maybe
She
not
looks-
today, but someday.
Sure. It's awfully high.
And could I extend my wings as my Azamo self?
Absolutely.
I extend my wings and I say, I must stay here in Qorvi because I am the leader of Protectorate House. I keep watch and make sure everyone's safe here. But the ones that do climb, and I point towards the Falls of Celestia, they say that people gain their wings. They gain freedom to travel and see as much as they want of the world of Evermore. And maybe someday you can earn your freedom and not be in hiding. Maybe someday you can be true to you and see what you want to see, do what you want to do. I assume that you are your own person, which is why you're here. But freedom is foreign to you right now. But you'll find it someday.
She places her hands on yours, and one of the things you'll notice is that the gloves and the wear that she has, some of the clothes that they carry, and some of the plate mail that the other advisors wear, or so that they're carrying of her possession, you recognize there are symbols that are placed into the plate mail. The metal that it's used is mother of pearl colored. The shininess to this, I mean, it is almost as if someone took intricate care to make sure that this weapon or this armor is well taken care of. But you would recognize that there are images of creatures that have wings very similar to yours. They're on the pauldrons, there's ones on the shoulders, ones on the shield. And she looks to you and says, I'll earn my wings one day.
I see you are also from people of wings. Are you Azamar as well?
And with that being said, she asks, would you like to come in?
I can. Not for
Ju-
long.
Joyi, your final actions for today. As it stands, this house, as you look inside, you can actually see the next door neighbors come poke their heads out, and they look like they're gnomes. But you'd actually see as they come out and they kind of place things around and move things, you would see that it's been owned by a family that lives in Qorvi. But Lexi opens her doors. She looks to you, holds your hands. She says, thank you. I can't tell you. I don't even know what's wrong with me. But I know this place is safe. And I know this is what I need. And she hugs you.
I hug her back and I say, you are under my protection, House Lamb. I will try my darn hardest to make sure no harm comes to you while you are in Qorvi, as that is my duty of the people here, is to protect. You can stay as long as you like. There is no rush, no deadline. But do come visit. We do have better days, let's say.
And where I would leave you, Joyi, is House Lamb, present day, is one of the most solid protectorate houses of Qorvi. Led by the matriarch, Joyi, had seen the great warriors of Qorvi, had been there when the dragons had decided to leave, but more importantly, had stayed to protect it. Claims the forest, the water, and as a true Azamar, the Falls of Celestia. Before we go to Mujun, Yuki and Ivan, Joyi, you are flanked by those of the soldiers of your house. And in present day, with the leadership of the old bear who had once taught you to be the great warrior that you are, with the matriarch that passed, that told you and reminded you of the compassion that you have, and the families of strength and the families of forest. In modern day, House Lamb is one of the longest legacies of Qorvi. And it is one of the most famous things that it's written in every House Lamb sword. In Cantonese, they will see us. All of us. Yuki and Ivan. Yuki, as this all ceremony begins, you'd see what looks like an individual walk towards you. It would be the samurai that you had offered to walk. He would take the blade. He would bring it from its back, slide it forward, and in one push puts his head down and offers it to you. And at this, the Qorvashi swordsman takes kneel, and he whispers protection as he puts his hands up to offer it to you.
Thank you. And she receives the blade. What anyone witnessing would see is a beautiful, it's almost a deep blood red hilt to this blade. At the end and at the top, it is where you see that gold had been melted down possibly even from the gold that they had originally offered Ivan, that had been molded in order to create the end of the blade on either side. And also too, there seems to be encrusted almost a design that stretches across the center mass of this blade that does resemble that of a gold dragon. In that moment, she releases the blade from its hilt, and she examines it. She gives the blood red over to the gentleman who presented it, and gives it to him to hold while she examines the weight of the blade, to kind of almost as if a master of someone who is a master of wielding katanas are like making sure it's the perfect width and weight for for battle. And she's examining it, and in that moment it's a beautiful it looks like a basic silver, but then when the light hits it, you see where it almost looks like the blade looks completely blue. And so when she moves it, it's to either side, you see where that color shimmers. And she lays it back down on her palms, and she kind of does a flick with it to receive the hilt, to place it back in its hilt, and then she passes it over to Ivan, but doesn't give it to him quite yet. She looks at him and she says, "A sword mirrors its owner. Never forget that. This blade that you will now wield is very unique. It will absorb any soul that you take, and it keeps it. It becomes stronger. But that amount of power, you must have control of yourself. This sword has no strength, only as much strength as the hands that wield it. But as I've taught Toshiro, it is not always about how sharp a blade is. It's about one's mind and one's will, and understanding the weight that you will carry whenever a soul is taken with this blade. You will now carry a piece of this land and its people with you. And as I mentioned before, with that, there's a responsibility that lies with it. This is meant to protect, not just to take a life. Do you agree to wield this with honor? And to use it only to protect?
Ivan will kind of move forward a little bit. Get down on one knee and then the other. And Ivan's a pretty perceptive dude, as he will sit very similar to the people of the Qorvi. I will do my absolute best. And I will carry this burden of protection with me wherever I go. I'm excited to be able to use it, and excited to be able to carry this with me. Like I said, This will be my anchor. Almost like a deity in a way.
Keep you grounded. Let's see. What type of owner you are. Please, let me see the blade.
He like gets up, kind of then like moves forward, grabs towards the hilt, gets a thumb in the back, and will pull the blade slowly out.
What you'll see in that moment when he releases the blade from the hilt, you'll see that the blade that was once that silver that turned to blue, it turns to black, like a very dark black. But if he moves it, it still has that blue.
He does his best to compose himself. It's all.
As I said, the sword mirrors its owner.
I promise you, I've got good intention for this blade. And he'll try and take a swing with it. What happens?
If I were to show you just with the flick of the wrist, how quickly this blade moves, it is almost as if it's able to cut the fabric of reality, because as it does it, you can actually see the twist of if you were to move something really fast, and there is a slight 1 second delay of even just the things that it's just the wind that it cuts. This thing is not only sharp, but if you turn it to the side, you see that black that's showing right now. The metal, it's extremely thin once you've presented itself, but the way the weight is perfectly balanced.
Oh, dear fucking heavens. This might be the happiest moment of my life. He's just looking at the blade outward and like we'll go to put it back in the sheath. And we'll go back down to kneeling. Mistress Yuki, I'm thankful for you trusting me with this item. It is a blessing of this land. And not only that, I've been given the blessing of this people. They're honest. A bit too honest for me.
It was meant for you to be here. And we're grateful that you came with us on this journey. Just know that if you want to learn how to properly wield that sword, House Miyazaki will always be open to you.
And wherever I be, don't think of coin when you first think of me. Call on me if you need me. I'm a fighter. That's about all I got. But
You're
if
a lot
you need
more than that. A lot more than that.
And he'll kind of look around awkwardly, like.
And you'll recognize that all of the swordsmen are staring at you. This is the only time that you see no emotion from majority of the swordsmen, as this all seems to be as they look at you. There's a sense of pride to each one of them as they recognize the weapon that you use. As final actions for Yuki. In modern day, Yuki is one of the most prolific trainers in Qorvi, as she has trained almost 80% of the Qorvashi swordsmen that call this land its protectorate home. There's 50 years that go by that the dragon has left her, but it is by no means a delay of any level of protection. For it is Yuki that tells Toshiro to be one of the greatest warriors that he is, teaches him every step of the way. And it is Yuki brings balance to the spirits in the forests and allows them to live in relative harmony and peace. Before we go to this, Yuki, in the coming days, your hair gets grayer, the crow's feet start to grow in. It's been many millenniums since you've seen this land grow from the budding bay it was to the world it's become. The time of the great dragons is slowly disappearing. But the Azamar that call this place and protect the very borders of this world are embodied in House Lamb, embodied in House Miyazaki, all of the Qorvi swordsmen that you have trained. It is Yuki that helps the integration of the Drow soldiers. And it is through her that they find true peace in this land. That is the legacy of one of the greatest teachers of this world. Let's go to Mujun. Before we go to Ivan's farewell, Mujun, you'd see Ivan receive this blade. You have the lights that are going up around you, the monks that go to the sides, their arms extended as well. They look to the ground and they begin to draw the rune of safety. And what you'd also notice is they all grab what look like sand from their hands and they begin to place the sand onto the ground. And it's almost a ceremony of movements that they do, because when they're done, on the ground in the middle of this village, it looks as if they have taken sand and created a tree. And the 8 planets that are around stand where the 8 monks are, or 7 of them, but where they have placed you at the center of this. You are standing on the ground. This tree has been made out of colored sand. Each of the monks stand to their corresponding planets. They have a green one that's right in front of you. You would recognize this as Evermore. They look to you and they ask, "Give us the blessings, my brother."
Before me is home. It took many months in seclusion before I became fully aware of everything around us, around me, around my home here. I must ask you all, what have you learned from these places you represent? Because the blessing I must bestow upon all of you is that I learned that my home, as he gestures down to Evermore, is best discovered with a group. In my seclusion, I found that I needed this community. And I found a team, I found friends that helped do some good here at our home. I've learned this. And now my blessing is just that, what I've learned. Now I know that I must learn from all of you. These places are mysterious to me. I won't pretend to be an expert. I won't pretend to know much at all. But I'm willing to learn. I am an eternal student. But I'm thankful that I have a place among you within this community. That is my blessing.
Each of the monks close their eyes as one begins to walk to you. And he has what looks like this sash that he goes to present to you. He places it over your head. It goes from corner to corner. And the only thing that's characteristic about it, it has Qorvashi words that are placed upon it. The blessings that they give to you and they wait for you as you say these words. You would see the world or the sand that they stand on begin to blow away. But it's the monks that stand in place. Regardless of the legends, if they're forgotten, the tales and stories, if they're forgotten, from each of those that come to this blessed place, these stories are with the monks. These stories, just like the roots of a tree, are deep set. There are things here that I would go to Ivan to show, but for you, Mujun, this is the first glimpse that outsiders have seen. Monks with ethereal arms, monks with the ability to speak to the stars. This is the first time they were able to see true power within the universe manifest itself in the most unlikely of people. And as the final action, as you say your blessings, I give you this. In modern day, it is the monks with Mujun that line the great walls, or the great wall, the great mountains, the north. It is their knowledge of the planes, of the planets, of the stars above that continue on as the legacy of Evermore is to begin. But every one of the races sees these half-orc monks as true blessings to Qorvi.
I have one question.
Go for it.
In modern day, was Mujin ever able to sort of continue this awakening of the astral self and move past just the arms, maybe the torso and the a fuller self in the future?
And I would even say it's this, Mujin, is that the appearance of the galaxies and stars are far more important in the future than you can ever hold. Because it is in the discovery of the great creature they name as Karen. It is a wolf that moves between the galaxies, and the person that dances in between, the greater spirit that protects the pathways of those that see the light. It is the trade winds that you discover in planets called Ayastani that are far beyond here, that foster the dead, that show them that there is life beyond purgatory. It is the words of the great ocean planets, all of this, to the Loxodons that try to accompany or embody this, to the spirits of the monks that place their hands and pray to the skies above, even down to the Festival of Fates. These are all things that Mujin, to modern day, would be involved in. So the answer is yes. And let's go to Ivan. As Ivan, the final actions for you as you gather your stuff. You've got your sword, you've got your equipment. After spending a significant amount of time in Qorvi, you choose to omit the money. But you can see the faces of the monks. You can see the legends of House Lamb and House Miyazaki. These legendary houses, weapons that you were able to carry with you, ones that can embody the souls into the metal, and of dragons, and of creatures, and places far beyond here. All of this. What would you like to do, my friend?
Ivan will stand there with his pack, his blade. He has removed one of his axes to be able to put the sheath into that spot where the axe once was. As he'll take the axe, and as a kid is running by, he'll be like, "Oh, here," and just hand him an axe, and then kind of keep going. As Well then, this seems to be where we part ways. My full name, if ever you need it, is Ivan Ulfsson. Be safe. And I'd love to get a pair of those wings one day, but that might have to wait till the next life. Mujun, I'll come back to you. Joyi, he's gonna walk up to you. Now, I'm not gonna try and flirt with you this time. I learned my lesson the first time. But it's been an honor. As he's gonna reach out for a warrior's shake. And with the shake, he'll pull you in. I'm sorry about your master. And your family. But take care of those kids. I think you'll make a great head of the family. Just don't fuck it up. And he'll kind of not shove off, but like let you go. As he will then go to Yuki. And then walk past her. And go to Toshiro. Toshiro. Toshi. Roro. You are a massive mother trucker. Keep drinking your axe milk or whatever it is you're doing, the bone marrow, keep it up. Because whatever you're doing, it's working. If you need me, all jokes aside, reach out. I'm most likely not going to be far away. And if you're looking for a good time, as he looks at the rest of you, I'll always bring a party. So he'll reach out for a warrior's handshake with you, Toshi.
I kind of look over because it's not an ordinary custom, and I kind of look at my hand and I extend it out.
And he'll just like grab the rest of the way and just hold.
But I don't let go. I look at him. I'm like, I tap the sword that I have. I'm like, Ivan son, you have been given something special. It's not something you use lightly. It's not something to show off. You don't have to show your prowess by using this weapon. This is more important than that. And then I let go.
Thank you. This weapon feels like a key more than anything. And I'm ready to see what's behind that door. As he'll turn and go to Yuki.
In that moment, Yuki does something that people rarely see her do. She again does her traditional, her hands where her kimono basically covers her hands. She has her elbows pointed outwards and she gives a very deep, for Yuki, bow and rises back up.
And Ivan will grab the handle of the sword at the side and do a very deep bow back, with the highest point being the bottom of the scabbard.
May your tongue remain as sharp as that new blade of yours.
I hope this blade can only measure up.
Be well, friend.
You as well. As then he'll go to Mujun. Mujun, my friend, my buddy, my lover. Just kidding. As he's gonna like look back. Just kidding.
You're going to get me in trouble with the monks.
The man with a rock hard abs and rock hard mental status. It's been a blast.
Indeed.
I know that you monks aren't exactly so of the world, but it seems like as much as you meditate, I feel like this might be able to help you just as much as it helps me. He's gonna reach into that same side pouch that he reaches into so often and pulls out a small little baggie and hand it to him.
Mm.
And then he reaches into the top pouch above it and pulls out his beautiful black and gray pipe.
Oh.
Now you're going to have to wash the mouthpiece, as you do not want to know where this mouth has been. Sharp tongue, dirty mouth.
I've learned, actually, as he reaches out for the pipe as well, examining it.
As you take the pipe, it is like, it's not a massive pipe. It's probably about this long, nice girth to it. But the pipe is black in color with the accents being a beautiful wood carving of smoke along it. Very weirdly enough, like very ornamental, very just intricate and beautiful as it comes back to this almost ivory like mouthpiece, but also a black ivory.
Is this some foreign herb? I'm not sure this is local.
If you ever need more, just let me know. Let's just say with as much as you see the stars and the planets and everything, it'll be good.
Thank you, Ivan. Again, your acquaintance here has been immeasurable. And he starts fumbling around with his sort of person. He sort of fidgets with he has like a little journal that was blank earlier. He fidgets with the scroll case and pops that open. It's stuffed to the brim with like pages that have been torn out from that journal. You know what I mean? So he's been writing. He's just been putting it away. He puts the pipe in there among these papers along with a little baggie and seals it very tightly. Thank you. He puts it again to his side.
The pipe's for any and all of you. If any of you want to try it out, it's very nice. It's my favorite. One of my favorite positions. All right. Well, I'm not much one for goodbyes, so he does his low bow as he's done so many times. The hand in front of the chest, the other hand up. I guess I'll see you later. He's gonna put two fingers up. Turn around to leave. Qorvi.
Begin to walk. Toshiro, you would notice that Ivan seems to be walking towards the south, and the true entrance to leave is the north. You can tell he's going the wrong way at some point, but if you'd like to intervene, it's up to you.
Oi! Doko! Ikimasu. You're going the wrong way. It's this way. And I kind of address everyone. Minasan, come over here. And then I look at everyone and I'm like, these people had no reason to help us, yet they did. Remember the lesson that these people gave us. If they didn't intervene, I don't know if Qorvi would still be here. Thank them on the way out. And then I hold up the token of House Miyazaki and I offer it to Mujun. Mujun.
Yes.
We have lost a lot of knowledge, a lot of good people. I hope you would find the time to visit us now and then and impart your wisdom to the newer monks in the order. They will need you.
Of course, it would be my honor to bestow the things that I've learned and that I am learning. Thank you for everything. It was an honor to fight at your side and to learn from you, from your examples, from all of you, Yuki, Shoyi, Ivan, and Toshiro. I will be there as soon as I can.
And I hold up my hand. I owe you, as does Qorvi, the thanks. And I bow. And then I look over at Ivan and I offer the same medallion. You have no ties to this land, but yet you came on the calling. I look over at Yuki. She has faith in you, so do I. I thank you for everything you've done for this land and for myself. And I look at Mujun and Ivan. As long as you carry this, you will never be questioned why you walk this land. And I bow and I thank them. Domo arigato.
So for Toshiro, what I'm going to give you is you see Ivan moving towards the north. You would actually hear what sounds like one of the swordsmen come to you and tell you, Toshiro, there's someone at the borders for you.
And I look over at Joyi. Joyi, I will see you soon. Thank you again for everything you've done. You exemplify everything who we are. And I bow. And I look at Yuki-san, Sensei, I still have lots to learn. But I hope what I've shown through this gives you confidence that I have found the path to walk what you believe I should be.
I had no doubts.
And then Gomen, sorry, I must attend to this. Let's go.
Okay.
So I go with the runner.
You begin to move past the rice fields and would go into the river's ends. You would be recognized as one of the biggest rivers that are here in Qorvi. Toshiro, what you would see from there is you would see somebody speaking to what looks like a Qorvashi swordsman, a gnome. And with this gnome kind of has long hair, a very long beard, and he's very crass. He's just, you can hear him just yelling out, I have a message for this man specifically. And he's like yelling at the swordsman. What would you like to do?
Who is he speaking to?
The Qorvashi swordsman.
Okay.
That is at the borders there, correct.
So I look at the runner. I'm assuming that's the man you want me to talk to.
That's correct.
So I start heading down. Oi! Nani? What do you need of me?
And you would see, he's looking right at you and says, hey, you know who this is? And he points, and you can see what looks like a pink tiefling with her hands against her head. And she looks very obviously confused. She says, you know her. And she says to bring her to you. You know her. If you don't know her, I'm leaving.
So with the description you give me, do I recognize who that is?
You would look at her and you would see a pink tiefling, her horns placed against her head. The way she looks, she's got her head as if a migraine is pulsing into her brain. That's the part as she's kind of just saying things and saying words and just it's at low volume, but you can hear the words Toshiro being said over and over again. And he looks over to you and says, hey, where is she? That little shit hat. And he's like looking around trying to look around the river bends, trying to look around to see if he's looking at the bushes. It's very obvious he doesn't seem to locate the thing that he's looking for, though.
So I'm gonna start walking over towards the pink tiefling.
You can hear her just to start say, just watch her. You have to keep her safe. Watch her. And she would just sit there, and it's almost as if she's not speaking to you, but she's speaking through you.
So I'll bend down so that she can see my face. This man says you're looking for me.
And you would
I am
recognize her.
Toshiro.
You would recognize her face as a pink tiefling that might have seen you in passing. It's very hard to ascertain if you know her directly, but your name is the only thing she's able to ascertain, and she's able to manifest as she says this over and over again. Watch her. Watch her.
Who am I watching? And I'm trying to remember you. Gomen ne? You are?
She looks to you, and she says, do you hear the name Zoya being said?
And then my
Yes.
eyes open with that. That's like, oh, Soya-chan, are you okay?
Watch her.
It's been a long time.
And she bursts into tears as she sits there and holds you. And right behind her, you can see this gigantic stone golem just standing there as the gnome looks over to you and says, yeah, so you know her.
And I kind of wave him off, like, give us time.
And the part that you wave her off, though, what comes into view is a small tiefling with blue skin that seems to be sitting there at the river's edge with her feet into the water. And you can just see Zoya looking at her and telling you, keep her safe.
And I look at her. Dare desu ka? Is that your daughter?
Keep her safe, Toshiro. It's the only thing that I ask. Keep her safe. You can see tears streaming behind the pink tiefling's face as you see her kind of hold her shoulder against what looks like the gnome.
So I'm gonna pull in my pocket and then pull out a cloth, and I'm gonna give it to her to dab her eyes. So what's going on? Why does Rio have to stay with me? Where are you going?
You would see her stand and the stone golem begin to walk, as well as this gnome begin to walk away. You can hear from her, keep her safe.
Zoya, Zoya, when are you coming back?
You'd notice that she has left the child with you. She begins to walk. She pays zero attention to it, and you would just see the gnomes and look to her. It's okay. I did what I promised, but I'm not leaving you behind. And they keep walking. You would hear occasionally what looks like the splashes of water with this tiefling that's sitting in the river.
So I'm gonna look at over what I assume is Rio, and I look at Zoya, who I've known for a long time, and I'm kind of torn. Like, okay, I got to take care of Rio, but who the fuck is this with Zoya? And kind of like, okay, so I kind of yell over at the gnome, "You take care of her, I'll find you." And then I start walking towards the blue tiefling near the river.
And the blue tiefling sits there. It's like a child, all but the age of between 3 to 5. You would see it just look to you. Doesn't say much. Keeps her feet in the water. She seems to be more transfixed on the water itself than actually everything that's going on.
I'm like, Ryo-chan. And I kind of laugh awkwardly because I have like no fatherly instincts in me. So I'll kneel down and Nanishoru, what are you doing? Because I don't know what to make of this, basically.
She would grab the water and pour it onto the ground. And she seems to be more transfixed on the water itself. And she's more transfixed on just looking at the plant life. And you see her kind of get up. It's even in the angst of all of this, looking at cattails, looking at reeds in the water. And she looks to you. And the first thing that she goes and says, I'm sort of hungry.
I'm like, okay. Choto ne. And I dig into my pouch and I bring out what looks like this kind of white, kind of oval looking thing. You know what this is. Okasan make, yeah? And I give it to her.
She looks at it and she holds what looks like a mochi ball in her hand. As we finally end this with Toshiro holding on to the small hand of a very little tiefling. You make the steps back to the village. As you can hear the exchange, you can hear her biting into the mochi and looking at you as your tall 7-foot frame in comparison to this 3-foot, very tiny, for the lack of a better term, tiefling. And she looks to you and says, nothing.
Ryo-chan, Okasan had to do some things, so you stay with me, yeah? Like you used to?
I think I can do that.
I would really appreciate it, yeah, if you can help me in the mochi shop, because Obasan, she's always yelling at me because I don't make the mochi like how you make. She always tells me that the shape is wrong. There's too much ang. There's not enough ang. But when you make it, it's perfect. So if you can help me, it would really help me out because I don't like getting yelled at. It's like when I get yelled at by Yuki-san. Yeah.
And where we will fade to black now is in modern day. Toshiro is one of the most prolific swordsmen that is from the lands of Qorvi. And the person that he is with, this little tiefling, has just as much impact in the greater story as us all. Toshiro, as you walk back to the villages of Maasen, flanked by the people, flanked by the small tiefling, I want to say thank you to everybody as we finally put the final cap in this story. Congratulations. We'll just do a quick round to say our goodbyes. Yuki?
Hi guys, I'm Brianna, but many of you guys know me as Utahime. Again, you can find me on social medias at Utahime Cosplay on Facebook, Instagram, here on Twitch, and Brianna DeCosta on Twitter. And oh my gosh, I have no words other than just how much I'm grateful. Thank you so much, Ray, for Ray and Kevin for working this out so we could do this campaign together, and for having me at this table with such amazing, I mean, you guys are all of my friends and it's been a complete honor. And again, everyone in chat, all the love and support, and all of you guys who have made Evermore what it is, because a lot of you guys have played in the campaign, and I'm just grateful to say that I've been a part of it. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Arigato.
Jess? Still muted.
I understood that.
Hear me now. Hold on.
Yeah,
There-
sounds like-
I unplugged my PC by accident. But no, I'm Jess. You can find me at Rising Valkyrie on Instagram and at Rising Valkyrie J on Twitter, which I'm trying to use more. But good luck. There's like tumbleweeds and everything, so yeah. But yep, all my promos will be on there. I've got a show series starting on D'Angelo's channel next Wednesday, every other week on Wednesday at 5 p.m. PST. So come check that out. But honestly, I am so happy to have been part of this series. I'm so happy to play alongside a lot of friends. If I'm being honest, I love all of you and the way you play. And I could not have been happier to have been able to represent, you know, my culture and Chinese culture as a whole in Qorvi, which is where Lexi herself started, as you can see. So it's like a full circle almost. Yeah, just thank you so much to both of you for letting me join this amazing project. And I love being with all of you here for 6 episodes.
And I'm gonna
London.
say something real quick. I call him Kevin because that's like literally his username, so it's a joke. So we know it's Keith. Come on, just put it on record
Come
so
on.
that way. It's my
He is now
nickname,
Kevin.
My nickname.
Keith. Actually, let's go to London first, and we'll go to Keith. London.
Okay. Hi, London Carlisle. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at London Carlisle. I had a blast here. I'm so excited to finally play in Evermore, and thank you for going along that journey with me and with all of us here. You can also find me most likely at Spot Hidden or on Stream of Blood, where I'll be playing, you know, D&D in different editions on Stream of Blood, whether it's Basic Box or 5e. But we have some fun over there. But I just want to say again, so thankful for everyone here and the friends that I've made within this group here. Even, you know, I even have a lover within the group as well, which is. But I highly look forward to exploring this world again in the future. If you'll have me, Ray.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I'm so thankful for all of you. So I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you. Let's go to Josh, NPC Voices.
Do you mind if I add something?
Absolutely, go for it, my man.
Please forgive me, as there is one last thing that Ivan would have wanted to do as he stood on whatever cliff or whatever it was overlooking Qorvi. He would just chuckle looking back at it all. He'll reach into his satchel, pull out this leather-bound notebook, flip it open. Come on, where is it? Oh, there we are. He's going to pull out some chalk or some charcoal and just start writing. And this ends my account, my experience within Qorvi. I'll put a period. Close the book, wrap it back up, put it back in his satchel. And to think Mujun thought he was the only one taking notes. He's going to put his hand on the hilt of the sword and be like, "Oh, you're there, right?"
Yes.
Where you at, you bugger?
You can hear the words.
Job well done. As he's going to hold out his hand as if to shake.
And you would feel something go right into that hand to shake it as well.
That's weird. And as he looks, does he see the personage?
He does. Of this, what looks like this jackal-like creature with a long, looks like a staff in front of him as it holds right at the borders of Qorvi.
As Ivan licks the outsides of his lips, where the cuts go halfway into his cheeks, where he has the left eye that his, I think, prestidigitation spell that he uses every time to change the color of his left eye fades. as his left eye goes to the dark maroon color. As his ear shows how mangled it is and torn, he just smiles. Well, I got a blade. So it seems a job well done. So he's shaking his hand. And I'd say for any future endeavors for to be the great deceiver.
And you would see a mirror that you have on your person. It's a mirror that's been tucked away this entire time. But inside this mirror, if you look at it, you would see what looks like a female that wears a white dress. She's banging against it, just and she like wants to be let out. You just quickly tuck it back into your pocket.
What? As he looks at the deceiver, shaking his hand. Fucking wonderful. It's good to have a key to the future. As he's going to go to bow, still holding the hand, just almost like about to touch, like touching it to his forehead. A key to my future, at least. As he will lean up, still holding the hand, and pull the blade to kill the deceiver, to try and take his place finally.
We will fade to black on that. Because that will be something the other players will have to deal with at a better time. Thank you, Josh. Thank you so much for this. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If I didn't give everybody a chance to say goodbye, I think let's go ahead and one more time, I think, Keith, for your final farewell.
Kevin.
Kevin.
As Brianna said, Kevin. So I didn't know how the end scene was going to go because I know Rio was going to show up and everything else. So yeah, I had kind of practiced this thing. And I was going to do a thing because Ray kept mentioning sukiyaki and all that stuff. So I was going to do a acapella version. So before we leave, I'm going to give you that real quick. So, 上を向いて歩こう涙がこぼれないように泣きながら歩くひぼちのりの夜 So yeah, we didn't know where we were going with the ending. Ray just said that Rio was going to show up and he was doing sukiyaki, and that was a song that played throughout our theme. So there you go. I couldn't play the uke because my arthritis is not good. So there's that. No recorder, Brian. No recorder. So yeah, all you people that aren't in Evermore, the recorder is like the most hated instrument by Ray. So we always bring it up in our sessions.
I don't even know why they do it. I really don't.
Yeah, because you got to do that when you got to prod your DM. Again, thank you for everyone for watching our series for the 6 episodes. Our crew, DC, Casual, Dollar DM for doing the music, Martin Ebido for doing our art, our cast. Oh my gosh. Thank you for coming on to this because I don't know how to do any of this kind of shit. And when you guys wanted to be on and I pictured you folks for these particular parts, I was over the moon. So thank you so much. And my brother, Ray, we did the thing.
And like in all traditions with Evermore, as the final farewells, thank you everybody for joining us. And we will see you next time.
See you at a level.
Peace, guys.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Do I get a bard level or
Yeah.
like a few now?
Yeah. Do I get a level for Lexi for just being there?
Yo, I need a Circle of Stars Druid.
Right.
So let's
Yeah,
get
yeah.
going.